Good evening, Topics and Tidbits, Wizarding Wands and Mickey Ears friends. This is Jennifer and Catherine, and we are live tonight. And I have to be completely honest, we were not anticipating being live tonight, but there has just been so much news that we figured that, we need to make this happen. We need to go live and, have some conversation because there's just so much going on with Disney properties, Disney World, Disney Cruise Line, that, it was time to, have some conversation and be present. And we're still very much on spring break. Our kids are.
I'm on summer vacation.
Our summer vacation.
Sorry, how checked out we are.
No, summer vacation, spring break. Woo, you know where my head is already. The summer vacation, my kids don't go back to school for several weeks yet. I know yours do very soon.
Tomorrow. Yeah, so it's a little crazy in my house right now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not until after Labor Day, but it's just all the activities, all the things are getting done, the last minute trips, and then helping people plan their trips and, make changes to their trips and all because of all of the changes that are happening with Disney World, Disney Cruise Line, Universal. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we are shared out properly because it looks like some things are a little bit wonky maybe with Facebook. But as you go, if you could, if you are here with us, please comment, let us know so that we know that you're here, that you're available, that you can see, what's going on with us and, ask questions and we would be happy to interact.
Absolutely. So welcome back to all who have watched us before and welcome in to everyone who might be joining us who are new. We are glad to be here tonight. So much to chat about. We were making our list and thought, will we even get through it all? There has literally been so much in the past few weeks. Jennifer headed to Disney and it was all over.
There really is. Well, and I think that's the hard part is that I was there. I was at Disney World and lots of things happened and I was trying to reach out to my clients and, post everywhere that we are posting and, things don't always work out as you want them to in the process. So,
right. So, well, Jennifer's sharing, if you have been here before, you noticed that we are missing someone. So Kelly is no longer with us, but we still chat all the time. We are still friends. She has moved on to some other adventures. We are so grateful for her being on this platform. We hope we can keep the entertainment level to what Kelly brought. I don't think we can. The bar was really high.
I don't know.
And the jokes and the laughter, but we're going to try. We will miss her here and wish her the best, but we again still get to we'll see her hopefully, getting closer, right?
Well, my countdown is 42 days. I don't know about yours.
I'm so off with everything. I still think it's the beginning of August. That tells you how much denial I am about school starting and everything like that. Gosh, 42. Yeah. So we'll all be, our families are going to be in Disney World right at the beginning of October. Jennifer has some news she'll share in a little bit about she gets to go a little sooner too. So
yeah. Well, I wasn't planning on it, but then so the Ratatouille ride, the new ride in Epcot that is similar to the one that's in Disneyland Paris. They announced some openings for Disney Vacation Club, some annual pass members. And where was I? So we've got an annual pass. And I was in Disney, probably in a park somewhere where they are maybe like not sleeping, first thing in the morning.
It was early.
And I think it was early in the morning because I was trying to do all kinds of things. I may have even been making dining reservations for someone. But I saw the email come through and they're like, click here to get an annual pass holder preview. And so I clicked on it and it told me to wait for 11 minutes. And I'm like, 11 minutes? What's going on in this queue? I was in the queue and I picked the last possible date. And it was the September 28th. And we weren't supposed to get there until the 29th or the 30th. And I thought, I'm just going to sign up for this annual pass holder date and see what's going on. And then within the next hour, we changed our flights. We changed our reservations. So.
Have you had one trip this year where it's actually like the dates you set? Because you guys are so nimble. You remember what was it, in the spring where we missed each other? You had to change it on the way to the airport.
Yeah, right. Yeah, none of the trips that I have this year were as they were planned at the time of booking. No. So,
So yeah, you take the trophy for that, being nimble and adjusting.
well, I think the nice thing is, I mean, the airlines have been so flexible this year. And so, I mean, normally in pre-COVID times, like I book a lot with Delta. Delta never really had, let you make changes without um, extra charges. And now they are for all their main cabin seating. And then of course we've flown Southwest a bunch, and Southwest always lets you make changes. And so, with Southwest, I would typically book them when I thought that I would be making some changes at some point in time or could.
Right.
And clearly I do. But with this one, I mean, we are booked on Delta, on miles, on, airline miles actually, which I didn't even think we could do. And I was on the phone with someone trying to figure things out. And she said, well, you have enough miles just to book it that way. And I said, well, if I can book it for like $5.50 a person, or I think it was $11.20 or something,
Right.
in the extra fees. Yeah, let's do it. But then changing those flights is, it's a huge process, because instead of like one change that scaffolds to everyone, you have to log into each person's account and hope that you are able to get everyone on that flight. And our flights home right now, our seats aren't together, but we're all in aisle seats near each other. My kids are old enough now to where it doesn't bother me as much. I mean, they're teenagers. And so if we're in aisle seats near each other, that's fine. But
yeah,
I guess we get to see Ratatouille before it officially opens, and we've got a couple extra days to see.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little for people who don't know. Annual pass holders, that is us, but that is a perk of being an annual pass holder, is they do these previews. So we don't know when they're coming. Usually it's again when a new attraction or I was there when, New Fantasyland opened, and we went and saw that.
Fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. Went down, just two of us, and it snagged one of those dates and lucked out. But these have, again, I think we knew it was coming. We didn't know when. I think starting a little earlier than we thought, but basically these emails go out. So talk about that process for people who don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting anything. I was sitting on the couch in my, in our villa. We have
Your lovely villa
at Kappa Creek, which you will all see because I have a video that's almost entirely made, to load onto YouTube in, just a few weeks here. But I was just sitting there, and we were having a little bit of a slower morning because we had been just nonstop. And so the kids were getting ready, and I was scrolling through my email because I always, check my email, and I saw that there was, this pass holder preview. And I thought, well, I'll click on it, see what it's all about. I honestly had no idea it was coming. And maybe that's because we had been on vacation. I wasn't paying attention and didn't really know what to expect or know that I should expect something. And it was dumb luck as far as the timing was concerned, honestly. But I mean, that's how things work, sometimes with those special previews. And so I always feel like living in Minnesota, they're not for me. They're for the local folks, the people who are much closer within easy driving distance. It's not usual for me to be able to luck out and, have the, timing such that I'm almost there, or planning a trip for that time. But yeah, with these days, it's a Tuesday. We got it late in the day, so not entirely ideal for the rest of our schedules, but we were going to be coming down Thursday early morning anyhow. So I figured, what's a couple of extra days? We'll fly home a day early, shift a few things around. It worked.
Well, it did work. And I want to say the dates, gosh, is it as early as September 1st? Am I making that up?
Yeah. I want to say the annual pass holder previews were at least that first week in September. I couldn't believe it. It was most of September, and the last possible date was the 28th. And then it opens officially, so they say to the public on October 1st, but I have the feeling that there might be some soft openings on the 29th and the 30th too.
Yeah. And soft openings are kind of, you might be walking by and it might be open and you get to, we've all seen things that way. But considering the previews are starting so early, first of all, it's exciting. It means it's real and it's going to open, which, we knew it was going to open, but this gets a lot more people in. And again, gets the cast members used to running the ride. All of that builds the excitement as well. I'm sure our friends at Mickey Blog will be in there very
Oh,
early as
yeah.
well.
Oh,
So
early. Much
earlier
earlier
we
than
will
me.
be. So we'll share
Right.
that as well. But it just gives, and again, these soft openings, again, there's that official day. You want to build the excitement, but hopefully it'll be open before that. So people will be able to, if you're in that vicinity as well.
Right.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
Always exciting when something new happens. And we have other Epcot news that we'll share as well. So
Well,
yeah.
I mean, there's so much happening all over the place, and I'll be surprised if we get to everything. I mean, I was on vacation and thinking, I mean, I already knew, had some apprehension because since the beginning of the year, there's been news every couple of weeks, but for the past few months, it's every week there's something new coming out and opening, and you want to let everyone know. So,
Good things like this is, it's
oh,
been great to have so
excellent.
much good news. It's like anything. It's
Right.
we weren't getting any, if you've been watching us, sometimes we say we don't have any updates. We're hoping for things. And now we have a
Right.
ton. So it's great.
Right. So, all right. So should we, I guess, I mean, we should start with Boo Bash. Boo Bash just started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I missed it by about 3 days. So we came home on Saturday. The first one was on a Tuesday. And then they're not doing any while we're there. But I'm hearing great things from everybody who's gone, that they really, really are enjoying the experience.
Absolutely. So these are after hours experiences. Disney has always had these Halloween and Christmas parties. These have kind of been reimagined for the landscape that we're in. Very popular. This was a pricier ticket. We talked about that as well. So more of an investment. And it's a later party as well, later in the evening kind of party. And I'm saying party, but really experience. But again, you're paying that premium because of the experiences you get to have in the park. So if you're a Halloween person, I mean, you've seen, and again, if you follow the page, you've seen Jennifer's bags, literally bags of candy. It's like she went down the aisle at the grocery store and just filled the cart. So there's candy and sweet treats. And again, being able to really walk on to attractions to really see the park in a different way. So very fun.
Yeah. Well, the after hours events are, so, I mean, the parties were always, or not always, but they got to be very packed events because people were there as much for the entertainment as they were for the actual experience of the party. And what I love about the after hours is they feel empty. You just have this incredible feeling of walking through an empty park and having an empty park with trick-or-treating, with all, I mean, I don't want to say necessarily freebies because you are paying a premium for these parties, but it's, you can go to any number of kiosks and get, soda or water, popcorn, ice cream novelties, and all of that's included. And so if you want a Mickey bar or 2 or 3 or some popcorn or all the water you can drink because it's hot. Yeah. It's really hot right now. You could get, 5 or 6 bottles of water and down them in between, the 3-minute waits that you have for your attractions.
Right.
Catch a cavalcade as you go through. And that's, I mean, and you can also enter early on these party tickets. And I mean, after being there in the summer, with some younger kids or people who aren't used to it, and even us, I was paying attention to how much time we really spent in the park. We'd get to the park pre-opening, it might open at 9, and then we would maybe go through as many attractions as we could at noon. And then you would have like 105-degree heat index. People were hot and needed food and water. And, that's just a few hours and you've gotten a lot in. But I think about that and these parties, and sure, they're 3-hour parties. They're 3-hour parties at, a cooler time in the day. Sure, it's late at night, but there are no waits for anything.
Right.
Oh,
well, and I think that's a great point. We get asked that question a lot, again, is it worth it? Should do this with my family? And again, we can guide you, but your family the best too, because these are later parties, events. It feels like a party experience. So it's a later experience. So you need to know that. And that advantage of that you can get into the park at 7. So you don't have to, for some families, they may say, we're either not going to do a park day that day, or we're going to maybe do a pool day and rest up and nap and be able to go full on or do different parts. So we can help guide you with that. But again, your family the best. Like my kids are a little closer age to Jennifer's too. Like we would still need a nap to be able to get through.
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't want to go to this and then get up really early, potentially the next morning, and do a full day. You really have to plot that in to what you're thinking.
I mean, you can get up early the next day and drag yourself on, onto the airplane home.
That's
because
true.
You gotta run home anyhow.
Drag yourself to the pool. And some people do.
Right.
Again, everyone is so different. That's why we're here to guide you for Disney and Universal, is that every family, group, couple travels really differently too. And your family the best. Some people just, they want to go straight out the whole time. But heat is a factor. And even in the fall, and again, we're talking about Halloween parties and it's August and back to school, all of that, it is warm there. So that, that's a big factor too.
Warm and wet. But what we did learn, so over the past several weeks, Boo Bash after hours events were announced in the spring at some point before we knew how much things could open, what they would look like. So as far as I'm concerned, I feel like Boo Bash was as much as they could put together with what they had at that moment.
Right.
And in the meantime, they announced the Disney's Very Merry After Hours party. So again, or a ticket, whatever event. It's not Mickey's Not So Scary or a Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party. So it's totally different than that event. I mean, you have to think about it as an after hours, but they're meshing the two together, which is incredibly exciting to me. When I saw that it was a 4-hour event, that it's got its own dedicated fireworks after the fireworks that are already happening that day. It's got its own dedicated parade, in addition to the full after hours, the walk-on rides, all of the, free soda, water,
right,
Mickey bars.
I know that Jennifer and I were both up, and Jennifer's in a time zone even ahead of me. We were both up at 5:45 this morning because Christmas was going on sale at 6 a.m. It was a little after that, but
Eastern.
We're up. Eastern. So Jennifer gets smart, but if we are we are tired. We will tell you that, but we were up booking for our clients. So another perk of using us, you can sleep and wake up to that email that you have very fun experiences ahead.
Right. Well, and I'm just excited to see what it'll be. But I look at these things, and if anyone knows me and knows my family and how we've traveled to Disney, we are not very good at missing out on things. And so we see something we really want to do. And normally we're traveling at this time, but we're traveling early for the 50th, which is exciting too. But I wouldn't put it past us to find a way to do one of these. Because we've flown down for just one after hours event before. That's not unlike us. Like we've thrown down for, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. We've flown down for one night for an after hours. Like if I find a super cheap flight and there happens to be a party and I happen to be able to get a night somewhere, like that's all I need.
Yeah.
So, it's a little bit harder with the days and my kids' school and not trying to pull them out of school as much anymore. So that's the only kicker right now, but I've got my eye on, a date when they already have a day off of school where we could make it happen if I can find something cheap enough. But I love this because I love that we could go down. You can get it at 7 p.m., to Magic Kingdom. You can see Enchantment, which is going to be the new fireworks, projection spectacular that they have for the 50th. Presumably I'm guessing around probably 8:45 because that's what they're doing for the Boo Bash.
I would agree.
And then stick around a little bit longer and then have the Very Merry After Hours party parade and their own dedicated fireworks and everything else. I mean, so it's a couple $100 per person, but it's probably a good 7 hours of park time of all of the things that I love about park time. So that feels worth it to me, knowing that we would spend 3 or 4 hours in a park in the middle of the summer and feel really drained, need to go back, have something to eat, think about maybe going back for the fireworks or not, and seeing them from other areas later on in the day. I think you don't know those things as much, or you don't process them as much if you're not as familiar with the parks. But absolutely a wonderful opportunity for the right family, or if you're able to stay up late, if you like those later hours. Good
Well,
stuff.
so it's the very merriest after hours is what it's being called. And so booking opened this morning if you are a resort guest. So if you already have that reservation at Disney, then you can go ahead and book. Opens to everyone else on the 20th. So I have to say, I was surprised with as many clients as I have that I was, that we were booking, and as agents and with Mickey Travels, we were a chat, because we're all chatting online saying, have you
Right.
gotten in? All of those kind of things.
Right.
But there's a lot of people really interested in this. And I can see why. We're more a Christmas family than a Halloween family. So same thing. I thought, oh gosh, those dates. And the more you read about what they're having as part of it. And I have been to the Christmas party there. And again, I would like to throw this out to for people who aren't thinking about it or aren't sure this is for them. The parks are decorated as well for the holidays. So again, even though it's August, the fall decorations happened while you were there, Jennifer.
Right. Yeah, they did. In fact, our company, they were so funny. They went and they were like, wait a minute. Yesterday we didn't have pumpkins and today we have pumpkins.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. So and again,
Yeah,
we've
yes.
talked about this. The Halloween keeps moving back, but the parks are decorated for fall. And then, all the Halloween Boo Bash are sold out. And so for the rest of the season, and then Halloween ends, and then the switch to Christmas happens. So the park
Right.
transforms, but beautiful for both seasons as well.
And I have to say, I mean, I love the parks throughout the year. There really isn't a time when I don't like to visit. And that's, I mean, genuine. Folks ask, and I'm like, there are redeeming qualities to all times of the year. But the thing that I love about fall into winter and throughout winter is that it gets darker earlier. And the lighting in the parks is amazing. They do such a nice job with early morning and evening lighting, when it's darker out, that it just glows. It's a different level. I mean, it's a whole different level. It's a whole different experience.
It is a whole different level. So, and again, I think that's one thing we want you to take away from this too. I think if you just look on it and you see 9 to 12, that's 3 hours, so 3.5 hours. You have those bonus hours. I mean, you can enter at 7. So you are getting, again, more of an experience as well. The after hours special things happen starting at 9, but the fact that you can get in the park and take advantage is something that is great. And again, we've speculated about what we thought this would look like. There's more to it than I think I was expecting, which is
absolutely. Same.
So if you're interested, we can help you with that too. Those dates will sell out as well, I am sure. As we've talked about too, the parks are busy October through December right now. So there's still people looking at trips. I had someone call me today thinking about October. Again, we'll see what's available. But if you're thinking about a fall trip or you see this very merriest experience, start thinking about it, go ahead and reach out to us or any of our friends at Mickey Travels so we can see what we can do for you. Yeah. Something to look forward to. So fun.
It'll be here before you know it.
Clearly, if we're
flies.
42 days really from, the end of September, gosh.
Right. But in other news, I didn't expect this at all. I hadn't seen any chatter that the Beauty and the Beast show at Hollywood Studios came back.
I know. That tells you how much news there's been. There's been these things. You're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah. So this is one of my favorites. I have to say, that's one of my favorite Disney movies anyway, but the fact that is back, and open air amphitheater as well. So that has returned to Hollywood Studios. Again, just more signs of more performing shows back and those cast members back up on stage. It's lovely.
I didn't expect it. Normally I feel like I'm connected in so many different Facebook groups and other groups. And I hear chatter from, or someone who knows someone who's related to someone or whatever. But I didn't hear anything about this one. And all of a sudden, boom, it was back. And so that gives me a lot of hope because, part of what I love about Disney is the theater of the experience. I mean, the rides are fun, but we love our food and we love the entertainment. And this is a family favorite. And so I was disappointed that we missed it. But I mean, who am I? I'm going back. I can't complain too much. We're going to see it again.
Yeah. And one tip for that, I mean, it is a huge amphitheater, it's shaded. So it's a great place to take a break as well. Maybe you're thinking, first of all, all the shows at Disney are good, even if you think, I don't know if I
Right.
like the movie, but to sit and have a break, it's also good for that. So, or you sometimes see little ones who are passing out because they're just exhausted, but also captivated by the show. So again, it's a huge space. So it's always seated a lot of people. So
Right.
that's a good thing too.
I know. And then with the Beauty and the Beast, or not the Beauty and the Beast, the Frozen sing along you've got happening in Hollywood Studios as well. And then the Mickey Short Theater is so fun. I can't tell you how many times I've been to, Potato Land and Mickey and his travels. And I can't get enough of it. I mean, there's a lot more. I think when people look at the parks, they think, oh, Hollywood Studios is the one that has Tower of Terror and whatever, and they don't think about the extra entertainment. And I mean, Star Wars and all of that. That's been the big draw now, but there's so much more to the parks than just those few attractions, just those. Yes. I mean, Epcot is so much more than World Showcase. World Showcase is wonderful, but it's more, it's not only the adult, World Showcase. It's all this extra stuff for kids. And I mean, so the parks have a lot to them. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a great point, because I do hear that occasionally from people who maybe are not Star Wars fans and say, oh, I don't really need to go there. It must be, it's all Star Wars, which it is not. There's still a lot there, that there's those, you just think it's just a couple of things, which it is not. So again, you never get to everything, even when you look at the footprint of Hollywood Studios being smaller as well.
I know. I mean, I digress, and I will, but I have, a family friend who reached out and said, we're thinking about our first trip. My daughter will be 5, and we've got some family friends who'll be, 4, the kids will be 4 and 7. We're thinking about a couple of days in the parks, maybe staying off property. And I was like, well, we need to, there's a lot to think about here, because visiting a Disney park is different than a Disney World vacation. And, it's so much bigger than you expect it to be. It's not, and I don't want to discount any other amusement park, but it's not like visiting a Six Flags. It's not like visiting a Knott's. Like, that's a day, maybe 2 days, you easily park, you get in. Disney World is a fully immersive vacation experience. And sure, you can stay off property and go to the parks, but I've said this in a couple of my live streams now, it's not the full experience if that's, what you're doing, because there's so much there than you think is there with just surface value. Even if you just open the park map and you glance at it and you hear, okay, these are the things I would do in this place. It's fully immersive. I think in the past 10 years, my family has taken over, I think we're 32 or 33 trips to Disney World now in 10 years, which is just a few. We're totally spoiled. But there are things we haven't done yet.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm looking for my laptop.
No.
That tells you how we are. I'm fading out here.
I know. There are resorts we haven't stayed at. There are attractions that we haven't done yet. There are restaurants we haven't eaten yet. And I mean, we've gone about as much as we can for people who live out of state and are flying to Florida to go to Disney World. And, some of our trips are short. Sure. I mean, some are 1 night, some are 9 nights or 16 nights or whatever. And still, there's so much there to do. You're visiting a city. You're not just visiting a park.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and if you do not have the pleasure of taking amazingly long trips or staying at great places like Jennifer, definitely make sure you're subscribed to our page, hit that bell icon so that you're notified when we go live or when we're in the parks as well. So Jennifer did some live streams, room tours. There's more to come as well. So even if you just want to escape, or you think, I don't know where to start, what does the room look like? What does it offer? I've heard about this resort. We're really trying to have all of those things available for you for both Universal and Disney. So it's a resource too. So that's what's available. So again, lots of content there. So we appreciate you following us and letting us know what you like and what else we can bring you to.
Absolutely.
But you're right. I mean, kind of circling back to that too, it's what kind of experience do you want too? And I think, again, that advantage with little ones, like you were saying, to be able to zip back and take a nap or take a swim. I mean, you can do that much more easily when you're staying on property. Absolutely.
Right. I think, and the busier the parks get, the easier that is to do. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this is a question people might be thinking, especially if they followed you, because you've been in the park since opening. Did you feel like it was significantly busier than your last visit?
It was, well, gosh, let me think here. Because we visited a lot. It's definitely busier than it was last summer. Because last summer when we went, they had just opened. It was empty.
It was quiet.
It was quiet. Part of it was glorious because it was so empty, but then you had to wear masks outside too. Now you don't have to wear masks outside. So that's a completely different story. It was definitely busier than it was in February or April. But it still didn't feel busy. The only time I felt like I was around people fairly tightly outside was when we went to go see the Happily Ever Hours fireworks, and that's to be expected, I think, when you're going to see a fireworks show. And you can put yourself in the crowd, or you don't have to put yourself in the crowd. And, we kind of did both. When I was outside, I think, we still take a lot of precautions. And so when I was outside in really crowded areas, I still wore a mask. But again, we were there for 10 days and, my family, we are all vaccinated, but we got back, a week and a half ago now, and, haven't had any repercussions at all from there. But inside, I liked the fact that, masks were required. That felt comfortable to me, just knowing where we are, with things in the country and COVID right now. Outside, they weren't required. And I don't know if I'm being overly cautious or not. Yeah. Because we definitely ate at plenty of indoor restaurants, everything else. But the restaurants aren't any more crowded than they were. They are not packing people in any more than they were last summer. The tables are still very distanced. I think we see that as, travel planners, when we go to make dining reservations for families, that they are still harder to get than they ever were. Pre-COVID, we can still find things for you, but you need to be a little bit more flexible with the time and sometimes locations and days and things like that. And again, experiencing that in the restaurants, there was still a lot of distance in all of the restaurants.
Which I hope that stays. As
a
travel, and again, Jennifer was up early booking dining. I was up Sunday morning booking dining. Travel planners don't stop when your trip is coming. No. But again, you're not seeing that same when people, you may hear those rumors that the parks are packed again or things like that. It's not fully back at that capacity. You don't know exactly what it is.
It's nothing like normal.
It's not, and dining is not. So again, that spacing. So I think that's a nice thing to hear too for someone who do I want to sit inside? Again, it's almost hard to remember, not just Disney, anywhere where you were packed in those little places, you'd be right next to people.
Well, and the truth is, so we were there in February 2020. We were there for Princess Half Marathon weekend at the very last weekend in February, about 2 weeks before everything shut down. And I remember walking through Epcot, and I love Epcot during a festival, and it was Flower and Garden. And I wanted to go to the kiosk, and I was tired because I had just walked totally out of shape, all these races. And I'm like, these people are making me anxious. Like, there were people everywhere, more than I ever remembered in February. But I think part of it is because I was uncomfortable and tired and, agitated from not having run as well as I wanted to. And I just wanted my kiosks, and I just wanted my fancy kiosk food, food and Flower and Garden food.
Yeah.
But going now to the festivals, there are a handful of the kiosks that had lines, but most didn't have any lines at all. For some reason, France had lines out the door. Italy had lines out the door. Morocco, no one. Germany, we waited almost nowhere at the festival kiosks for food and wine, and that's totally unheard of. And so I think about those comparisons, like February is usually an empty time. Summer is usually busier. Fall is usually busier. And for this summer to be markedly less busy than February 2020 still, tells me that, the parks are not up to 100% by any stretch of the imagination. The restaurants certainly, are booked as much as they can be booked, but they're not.
Right.
You're not tight in there with people.
So just good for people to know kind of where things are staying. I think it's because everyone, France and Italy, that seems probably more people are like, I know that.
So more accessible.
Maybe they're there for the mimosas.
Go to Hawaii. So if people are going into the Food and Wine Festival in Epcot, and again, I digress a little bit more because we ate so much kiosk food. We had so much fun. Get your festival guide and do Emil's homage montage. Go visit all of these different kiosks. There was only one that I didn't love so much, but that's, with my personality, but like the griddled cheese and grease. But it wasn't until the end of our trip that we found like inside the Canada kiosk. So they have the normal Canada location outside of Le Cellier with your filet and cheese soup. But then if you go inside of Canada, in the theater there, they also had, what was it? The apple, I can't even remember what it was, but they had the Appleseed Orchard had an apple crumble tart, apple chips, frozen apple pie, which was non-alcoholic, which was really good. And then what else did I get? That was, the apple blossom sky. I don't like sweet drinks, but whatever this was pure heaven. It's Fanta apple, ginger beer, apple brandy, maple syrup, mini marshmallows. It had a kick. It was served in a little like
stein, like a beer
stein?
Stein?
Kind of a little like I can't remember the name of it, but a little beer stein. And it was so good. And we wouldn't have walked in if we weren't looking for some air conditioning and a little something sweet. Right. The kids wanted something sweet. We figured, we didn't realize this was here. But then also, the International Food and Wine Festival had 7 kiosks that weren't scheduled to be open until October 1st. And they opened them.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Because I was like, but wait a minute, I love, Ireland and Spain and India. I love the Indian food and Brazilian cheese bread. Like, I can't wait to go back now because all this will be open for our next trip, and all I'm going to do is eat my way through Epcot. Any opportunity I have. All the food is so good that I don't know. I love park hopper tickets in the fall. Well, for any Epcot festival, but Food and Wine and International Festival of the Arts, honestly, are my 2 favorites. And the more time I can spend in Epcot, even if it's a little bit in the day that we're doing something else.
Absolutely. Well, and that's why the kiosks are so great, because you can really try a little bit, and it's a great time to be adventurous.
I've got my little Emil's homage montage glass, by the way. They give you this filled with, if you finish the challenge, so you try all of the 5 things, and of course you pay for them, then you go and get this, for free, filled with like cheesecake and whatever. And I just figured I'd pull it out and fill it with some wine so you could see what it looked like, and I could have some wine.
Yeah. I mean, we are talking perfect timing. Shocking. Yeah. So Jennifer did the preview. We'll both be there for taking lots of pictures and trying lots of things. So I can't wait to go back.
But I highly recommend it. I mean, if folks, even if you're in town, if you're not local, but you're somehow in the area for whatever reason, if you can spend a few days in Epcot, especially as adults, but I mean, it's a great place for kids too. And, we can talk through that, potentially at a future date. But, if you're adults in town for a conference or for, any type of event, a lot of times they'll have, conference tickets. Stop by Epcot. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Get your feet wet if you're not familiar.
Right. Well, and there are you can definitely go on and see all the lists of menu items and things like that. But I love it because the descriptions are there, and there's so many things. I mean, I think you really can try from so many countries that you might not even think about.
Right.
Too. So yeah, it's a good one. You want to go in there hungry.
I know, but I mean, so speaking of food in Epcot, the Space 220 restaurant that has been teased for, I don't know, years.
Like forever. Yeah.
A long time ago, and they were undergoing different changes with concept and chefs, and I don't know if it was ownership, but apparently we get news that it's supposed to open mid-September.
Right.
We don't know what all we know. Means. We do know, I've seen on a few cast member pages that folks are being hired to start early September for 2 weeks of training, like hosts and things like that. So, I mean, people are hired for these positions. They're ready to get started. So I don't know what's happening in the kitchen and with the chefs and everything else. I imagine they're probably already training. But, for front of house folks, it sounds like they've got starting dates and this is what they're planning.
Right.
And so soon here we should know, but this is, I mean, I've had a list of people asking me for reservation space 220 whenever it opens for over a year.
I believe it. I mean, I think, again, that was the one, and some of the other restaurants that have reopened, and we'll talk about Boba was yesterday. Was that yesterday? But there's most of those announcements have been saying when bookings open. So this was more saying it's coming. We're going to let you know. So we have reservations on Saturday when we're in Epcot, and we're like, we're going to try to switch it, but Jennifer will be there early. So we'll see if she can
I'll do my best.
Go have a drink, take one for the team, check it out. So we'll see when reservations start opening for that and what that entails. But exciting to have a new restaurant at Epcot as well.
And I mean, between Disney World and Disneyland and all of the news at Disney Cruise Line, it's really hard to keep up. And so that's, I mean, an important reason to use a travel planner who specializes in Disney travel. And I would say right now, more Disney than Universal. Universal, luckily, I mean, has mostly opened up. And so we know what's going on and what's regular and, wonderful there, which has almost been a breath of fresh air. Like, whew, I don't have to think about this. I know the answer.
It's true.
With Disney, it's like in normal times and last week, but let me check to see what the answer is this week, because everything is changing so fast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So we teased some dining. So Boma is reopening. That is, again, super popular with us and with clients. So we're excited to see that as well. So that's reopening as a buffet as well.
I know, it'll be the first buffet, right?
Yeah, that was really different. So, which I think is nice, really good for, again, Boma can be not a choice for some people if they look at the menu and it just feels too, I don't know. I don't know if my kids would eat it, or I don't know if but again,
they would. I'll say right now, they would.
They've
got something for everybody.
There is. And it's just such a cool location, and it's a popular one for good reason. So,
well, it's an Animal Kingdom lodge. And so I think, it's not, if you're not staying there, it might be a little bit out of the way to visit. But if you are visiting Animal Kingdom Park and you're looking for something, I mean, Animal Kingdom Park has some great dining, but not a whole lot of table service dining.
No.
And so it's great to hop over to Animal Kingdom Lodge, to have a meal at Boma, or to start there, because I love Boma breakfast. That's one of my favorites. And they have like asparagus and, roasted tomatoes and chocolate, like a lot of Indian African flavors. But then they also have your Mickey waffles and your Simba waffles and all of your pastries and all, eggs and normal accessible food for kids. But start your day there. Go to Animal Kingdom Park. It's so quick to get between the two. So
I
would recommend Boma.
Yeah, so that's good. Let's see. Yachtsman reopened.
Big deal.
Yes, that's one, again, really popular. So happy to see that. And Animal Kingdom Pizza Safari as well. And again, Animal Kingdom just doesn't have as many locations sometimes. So again, that's a go-to one that is available as well. I mean, this is how many we have. I have to look at our list.
I know, right?
Right. I have to make sure. Yeah. Columbia Harbor House reopened as well. So that's another.
Really popular quick service at Magic Kingdom. A lot of people have been really disappointed for a year.
I love it in there. I know.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's maybe a little bit of a tighter space. I'm sure they were trying to figure out how to make the distancing work between that and the rides in that area.
Right.
But with what they've been able to do with mobile ordering at all the quick service restaurants, it looks like they figured that out really well at Columbia Harbor House. And so if you need a lobster roll in your life, or, some really good fried shrimp, everything there, it seems like, is fried to me, but it's all really good.
And mobile ordering is here to stay as well. So that is something, again, we have a great how-to video on that on our channel. So if you have a trip coming up and kind of walks you through the steps. And it is really easy, but it's really important to look that over before you go so that you're ready when you're ready to eat. So.
Yeah, because especially when you're hot and hangry, you
right.
don't want to
or
be
your
figuring
children
things out
are,
then.
or someone in your travel party is.
Right.
So
Yeah.
have that mobile order ready to go. It's a game changer for sure.
I know. I was looking at the time. I'm like, we don't have a lot of time. We got a lot of
I
other
know.
food.
That's what I was looking at too. So we covered
A lot
a
of
lot of
food.
Epcot already too. And then, gosh, this feels like this was announced weeks ago, but for those Star Wars fans who've been waiting, the Star Cruiser, it is going to open. We got pricing, we got pictures.
I know. I mean, a
So-
lot of information about the story opening spring 2022. So we don't know exactly what spring means or when booking will open, but 2 nights, and they're calling it fully immersive. It's not totally all inclusive, but because
Right.
alcohol isn't included, but it sure seems like it's mostly all inclusive otherwise.
Yes, I think so.
So activities, food, a visit to Batu, and of course, I mean, at the pricing that we're looking at, I certainly hope it would be, because it's more than a cruise.
Mhm.
So I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, so this is definitely a different experience. You're getting yourself to this. So transportation is not included as well. So you're getting yourself to the experience. And again, you are not just in the parks or staying at this isn't a hotel anyone can stay at. You are booking this package. You can dress up for wear costume or wear the attire.
Cosplay, yeah.
Where,
People are into
where you
cosplay.
are. So I know there's people interested in this. So if you do, but introductory pricing, there's different categories again, around 4,800, and that's for 2 guests per cabin, and 6,000 for four guests. So again, not an inexpensive experience as well, but because of the true full-on 2 days, feels like a little bit of, you get to choose some of your adventure as well. And that's what kind of plays out through the time. So obviously Disney details to the max. So I'm sure an incredible experience. So it's not on the top of my list yet, but we'll see. We'll see if there's maybe they can work that into our next agent trip that we get to go.
I know. I'm like, I think I'm paying less for a cruise, but I guess not counting all of my excursions and everything else.
Right.
So something to be considered, but also it sounds like all of the dining is, very high-end dining, and, there's a lot to experience. And so we'll learn more, as reservations become available, which I expect will be probably maybe within the next 2 months or so, if they're going to start welcoming people in spring.
Hopefully not while we're celebrating the 50th anniversary.
Not during the 50th, right? If Disney could just shut that week down.
If they could just wait.
And not release anything, that would be really nice.
Absolutely.
I know. Except for maybe more merch, because, we were talking about the 50th, and Disney has teased a bunch of merchandise for the Disney World 50th anniversary. And some of it was released just on August 12th, again, sadly, like 3 days after I got home. Luckily, not anything that I personally feel like I need to purchase right now.
Right.
But there will be more. And so they've got whole different collections that are coming out throughout the 50th celebration. And I think it's important to note again that the Disney World 50th anniversary celebration is going to be 18 months long. So it starts on October 1st.
Yes.
But they're saying a year and a half of, and rightfully so. 50 years is a big deal.
Right. So when we talk about that, we're going for the celebration, we're going for the beginning of the celebration. So again, 18 months to still see the castle the way it is, to see the new show. I mean, to really experience that. And they really are promising that will continue for those 18 months. So if you're thinking about a trip, you will get to experience that too. You'll just get a little preview when we go. So that's a good thing too. And kind of just jumping, park reservations, still a thing. We talk about this every week. Please make your park reservations. If you book with us, we tell you that over and over. But if you're somehow planning this on your own or whatnot, you have to have those park reservations. It does not matter if you have tickets. There is that calendar that is updated all the time, so you can see before you're looking at tickets, but you just want to make sure park reservations and they're correct and they're connected correctly as well. So that is key to making sure that you can visit the parks you want to visit when you're there.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Thanksgiving dates, Christmas, New Year's Eve is already fully booked, I think, for most categories, for Magic Kingdom and Epcot. I mean, those dates, if you're looking to travel, then get on it. Get on it.
And we should say park reservations are required for both Disney World and Disneyland
as
well. So 2 different platforms, but they are required for both parks right now too. So a little bit of Universal news. We talk about this. We will not be going to this. Either one of us.
Right.
I'm sure my 16-year-old probably would, but may never sleep again. So Hollywood Horror Nights, which we've talked about. If you don't know about this is huge at Universal. This draws a lot of locals. There are people who go just for this. You know, when you think about Universal's brand, they love horror and scaring and think this is so the furthest from. I'll jump on the Star Cruiser before we go to the horror.
Right.
So just so you know where I fall with that. And I would probably enjoy this. These are September 30th. So 5 new houses this year. Again, we will share maybe others going to it. We will not be going.
Right.
But if you love Halloween, if you love this genre, Universal Orlando is where you want to be during this time. So.
Oh, absolutely. And, and just another tidbit, I guess, about Universal is that, I've been working with a lot of families who are looking to book a trip specifically to Universal. And, we've looked a lot at the differences between the different hotels and resorts that they have on property. And the premier resorts are winning out almost every time because they have the unlimited express pass. But something else to consider with these resorts, and I know that takes a bit to just, in a lot of cases, settle on, the pricing level of sometimes a premier resort, but knowing that you're getting express pass. Once you're looking at that, if you have it, the bandwidth to consider looking at club level, you're going to win out almost every time, especially if you're going with a family of, 3 or 4 people. Most of the folks that I've been looking at recently, are paying the extra for the club or for the premier resort, but then for sometimes 3 or 4 nights, they might spend another $203, maybe $400 for, a family of 5 for their club level. And club level, I mean, at Universal, you've got your breakfast. So that, I mean, they say a heavy continental breakfast, but that's going to be a full breakfast, lots of hot options. So it's not just a roll and, hard-boiled egg. You're getting almost an entire, full breakfast. They have, afternoon stacks. They've got an evening reception with heavy hors d'oeuvres, selections of beer and wine, sodas, water, coffee, tea throughout the day, and then desserts at night. And so when I, look at this, I'm like, this would feed my family of 4 easily. Mm-hmm. And with the cost that, when you are traveling and spending money, we don't spend a lot eating in the parks unless we're specifically sitting down. A lot of times we just want to grab a quick breakfast and, we'd love to come back, go to the pool, grab some heavy hors d'oeuvres like, chicken wings or, just some heavy proteiny and veggie types of things. Right. And so the more I've been looking at this with families, I'll tell you what, it's really worth considering looking at the club level at the premier resorts because you are getting a lot.
You are, and don't rule it out. It can be like you're talking accessible price wise too, or when you really break it down, it makes a lot of sense. I think especially it really doesn't matter your family because there's some with young ones who eat a lot too, but just to have that there, or just when you start thinking about it adding up or how much beer would be or all those waters or things like that, or that you can go in there and grab a snack, it's significant as well. I think Universal does a great job as an option for families.
They really do. And I mean, their club levels have been back open for a long time.
They have.
And when I priced this out, like I've looked at it for my family and other families, and it seems to come down to like $25 per person per day or less. That's nothing. See, when you
No, I
figure a
think,
bottle of water, I'm spending like $5. If I'm getting, a cocktail or a drink or, a glass of wine, that's probably going to cost me 10 or $11.
right.
And, just a restaurant,
Yeah.
let's think about
Oh,
what you pay when you're
absolutely.
actually on vacation, not what you're paying when you're in your house.
Mhm. Well, and
You're
we
going to
haven't
save
mentioned,
yourself some money.
yeah, and that's why we sometimes don't have as many updates about Universal. They have had a lot open. Their club level has been open. Um, they really are fully open. So that's something we will try and price that for you if you're interested, just to look at it and see. Because I know most clients coming to us or future clients have no idea where pricing lands. And we really, that's why we're here. We can really throw out all of those options for you and figure out what's the best.
Right.
But that's a great point to make.
I know. And where it's open at Disney, I mean, quite honestly, things are pricier when it comes to club level of Disney. At Universal, I feel like, though, right now, at least, it's incredibly accessible and definitely worth
Right.
considering at those premier resorts because it's just not that much more for everything you're getting for it. So
My cat poked me. Where's your cat sleeping in the back? I can see.
I know. One of them, one was walking around
One
for a
was
while.
walking around. I know. They just,
Right.
they're like,
I
what's
tried to
happening?
clean things up, but whatever.
Yeah,
Cats,
you're
you
back
can do
and
whatever you
chatty.
want.
You know it.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. But I mean, what else did we miss? There's so much, like some
I think
character
just
dining has
cruise. Yeah.
reopened at
Disney.
Disneyland. Alani, the adult only pool at Alani right now has become a family pool. Sounds like there's a lot of discussion about that. The adult hot tub is still the adult hot tub, so don't you worry. The bi-level, it's wonderful. But the other big pieces are, yeah, Disney Cruise Line.
Yeah. So they've been sailing out of the UK for these 2 and 3 day vacations. So they're not really going anywhere. You get to get on the ship and the reviews, and people are just so happy to be back on the ships. And same thing, it's not at full, the pictures we're seeing are amazing, like not full capacity, but just to be back on the ships. So that's amazing. The Disney Dream is sailing to Castaway Cay from Port Canaveral. Disney Fantasy doing the same on 4-night cruises starting in September. So exciting that it's
Right.
resuming as well. 7-night sailings, hopefully to start back up in October too. So we're seeing things move that way. We did see just one cancellation, but just the one, and the rest are resuming. So if you're thinking about or you're boarding a ship soon, there are some different things that have changed protocol wise. So you really want to make sure you're reading through all of that. Again, you have us for helping you with all of that. But there are some changes. We've talked about that in the past too. So no real updates on that we have changed.
No, I mean, I think the hard part is that it all changes so rapidly. And so we've only had a few sailings out of the US so far on the Disney Dream, and the Fantasy originally had 7-night sailings. They've shifted them down to 4 because it sounds like there are some additional rules that'll come into place with 7-night sailings and extra testing and everything else. And so they're working on, what that'll look like. And so I'm working with some folks who are thinking, or who are booked, on the Disney Wonder later on this year, as well as the Fantasy. And it just sounds like a lot of the rules, they're different. And so if you've sailed with Disney Cruise Line before, if you've sailed with anyone before, just be prepared to have a lot of those pieces that maybe you're waiting to submit until port ready in advance, submitted in advance. I know with Disney Cruise Line, they want you to submit pictures of your passport or your documents, in advance, PDFs or JPEGs or whatever, part of the check-in process. And so a lot of that takes a little bit longer on the front end, but then when you get to port, you're spending less time waiting for everything and waiting in line. Your port arrival time is much more exact these days. And so you can't pick a port arrival time at 1:00, but then decide to show up at 11. Like, you have to show up at 1. They're not going to let you hang out for a couple of hours in the space with a lot of people, but everything is ebbing and flowing. Again, we've only had a couple of sailings out of the US so far. And I've heard on some cast member pages that Disney Wonder cast members are being called back to the ship. And so the Wonder hasn't started sailing yet. The Magic is sailing. The Dream is sailing. Now what we're hearing, there are plans for the Fantasy to be sailing. There's no news about the Wonder, except we're hearing that there are some folks now being called back. to their ship. So fingers crossed the Disney Wonder will be
Yeah.
sailing again for the Panama Canal later on this year. And normally they will be, so the Wonder is the ship that will go to Alaska. They'll do some of the Baja sailings, and then they'll do the Panama Canal sailing. So we'll see what that means, but so many changes. So if you are booked on a Disney cruise, if you're considering a Disney cruise, read everything that you're sent. I know you think a lot of it's spam. I think a lot of the stuff I get is spam. It's not. It's really important. Know before you go pieces. So be sure to read through all of that, very intently when you've got the wherewithal and all of the other media you're consuming, to make sure that you understand what the requirements are now versus what they were before.
Absolutely. And the last thing we'll say about cruises too is that Disney Cruise Line prices go up as inventory lessens. So if you're thinking, again, that's one, and I even have Disney World clients booking a year out or so now. If you know those dates, go ahead and do that. But especially for the cruise line, if you're thinking about that, the further out you can do is always going to benefit you. So
right. And your deposits are refundable in most cases, unless you're booking, concierge or something very special. Your deposit's refundable. So it's always better to deposit early, even if you're not sure. And then, change your mind if you have to. But
you will. It's worth it for sure. So
I
feel like we flew through a lot in and out.
I'm afraid we're gonna have just as much next week, and I don't know.
We might. I know it's fast and furious. So, but if you're not in our Facebook group, definitely be part of that. We try to send updates or postings or our upcoming trips, or we did hear some news. We love it when everyone, maybe writes a question to the group. We give you a lot of advice, but we love everyone else chiming in as well. So it's a great resource. You can also search for topics there too, but we're glad to have that community kind of sharing all the Disney and Universal tips and tricks and love as well. So
right. So thanks so much for being with us tonight. If you're watching later or even now, please feel free to hit the like button. That helps for other folks to see our content. Also check all of the live streams that we've had in the recent past. And again, I just posted a room tour of a new updated Moana room at the Polynesian very shortly here. I've got a Riviera studio ready to go. I'll have some Copper Creek video to post, but then lots of live streams and other content that we're posting throughout the week. And so if you go to our Facebook page, be sure to look at the information there, but also go to YouTube and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, if this is the first time you're watching us, please hit the subscribe button, the like, and also the bell icon if you're interested in being notified of when we go live or post new content. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for being involved in the conversation. And until next time, enjoy the journey.